Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. I know the title of this video sounds a little clickbaity, but that's not my intention. Let me explain what I mean by it. When I say the pro-Star Wars media, I'm talking about the either websites or blogs or just people who make videos and write their own posts in general who further this narrative that the problem is the Star Wars fanboys. The problem are these toxic fans who are responsible for trolling and bullying this or that celebrity in the past, and now they're doing it again, and they're the problem. And it usually snowballs into just a number of different straw men. They're all white, they're all middle-aged, they're all Trump supporters, and so forth. And it's hard to take the argument seriously, honestly, when you listen to it really snowball that far. The narrative persists nonetheless. So that is what I do argue will ensure the failure of Star Wars Episode 9. How? What do I mean by that? Well, one of the classes I teach, in addition to my literature and heroes classes, is just basic writing and rhetoric, college composition, teaching freshmen how to write and reason at the college level, debate at the college level in terms of writing. And one of the most basic logical fallacies that any college composition course should teach a student to look out for is the false binary. The false binary is taking any issue out there and dividing it and treating it as though it's simply this side versus this side. Because that's never ever the case. And this is going to come around to Star Wars here in a second, but bear with me while we explain some terminology here to get there. People like false binaries. They like this side versus this side, good versus evil, and they usually place themselves within the good side. That's human nature. The media has latched onto that because it's very marketable. It gets them more sales, clicks, or whatever. So that's the direction that news tends to flow in. But it's a false narrative and it's a problem, and I'll show you why. Let's take, for example, the issue of abortion. Everyone knows that the two basic sides of abortion, whenever the issue comes up, are pro-choice versus pro-life. So this diagram here, this is a good example. Let's say this whole field represents the abortion issue. The media and the way most people speak about the issue is just to draw a line right down the middle and say, on this side, there are the pro-lifers, and on this side, there are the pro-choicers. That's a false representation of people's views on the issue. It's not simply one side against the other. In fact, it's far more like a spectrum. If we take this horizontal line here, it's a scale. Now, there are people who are 100% against abortion. Never, ever will they ever support the idea of abortion. And you'd place those people on the far extreme of this side. And likewise, there are people on the opposite who are 100% for the woman always having a right to choose abortion, no matter what the circumstances. And you would place them equally on the extreme side of the scale over there. Those two sides, though, are extremely rare compared to the vast majority of people who might identify as either pro-life or pro-choice. For example, you would have a lot of people who identify as pro-life who would say, unless the life of the mother is going to be endangered because of some medical condition or whatever, if the pregnancy is carried full term, the life of the mother is going to be endangered. They might be okay with abortion. So you'd place those people right about there on the scale. Over on the pro-choice side, you might have people who say that they believe in abortion being legal for any woman and her ability to choose, unless it's a late-term abortion or a partial birth abortion or something like that. They'll have some place they will draw the line on, and you might place them somewhere about there on the scale. Over on the pro-life side, you might have somebody who identifies as pro-life, except for the case of rape or incest. In special cases like that, they might be okay with it. So maybe place them there on the scale. Back on the pro-choice side, you might have somebody who believes that abortion should always be an option for a woman, unless it's, say, her 10th abortion in 2 years, that she's just doing it for birth control. You might have somebody not be okay with that due to medical and funding issues and whatever. So we place somebody like that right about here on the scale. Okay, so automatically, we can go a lot farther with that, but automatically we have 6 different viewpoints now instead of just the 2. So you can see how the false binary is a false representation. Now, this is the problem with arguing the issue as though it's a false binary. Let's say you're this person over here. You're this extreme person on the pro-choice side. And you are writing an argument, an article, or making a video or whatever. You're trying to convince people to come over to the pro-choice side. Well, if you treat everybody to the left of the center there as though they're this person, the extremist, then you drastically reduce your chances of ever convincing the other two people on the scale. If you're this person here and you think abortion should be legal in cases of rape or incest, but you just don't like it in general, and an article or a video or whatever is treating you as though you're some backwards hillbilly who just completely is against abortion all the time or whatever, whatever straw man's there, you're never going to listen to that argument. You're never going to consider it because somebody's not taking the time to understand and really consider your viewpoint. So if you were over on this side, anywhere on the scale on the right side, and you wanted to convince people to come closer to your viewpoint, you would need to acknowledge that there are different viewpoints, there are different strengths of opinion on the matter. Then you would have more of a chance to convince anybody to come closer to your side. Now we can take off the abortion issue example here and just place Star Wars. Let's say the issue is not pro-choice or pro-life. The issue is pro-Disney Star Wars or pro-Lucas Star Wars, let's say. Again, you can't just draw the line down the middle and pretend that everybody who doesn't support Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, they're just all a bunch of evil, toxic fandoms that live in the past and want the old films and expanded universe and all of that back. And that they're trolling, bullying, toxic. Well, let's say we have our two extremes here. We have our people, like myself, who are 100% against the new Disney Star Wars continuity over on this extreme. The people who love everything about it over on that extreme. But then, we talk about people who are in the middle. For example, you might have somebody who loved the Disney continuity right up until Last Jedi. They liked The Force Awakens, they liked Rogue One, and they just didn't like The Last Jedi, and that left them without any place to turn. Maybe they didn't end up seeing Solo after that. And let's place them right here. Well, if everybody on this side treats this person here as though they're just a stupid fanboy living in the past, this person will only hear so much of that before they say, you know what? To hell with you, I'm not going to go see your episode 9. Now, originally, a person with this mentality might have just experienced The Last Jedi as just a little bump in the road and really be hoping that it'll all be fixed in episode 9 so they would go see it. But if they keep hearing this narrative, lambasting everybody who dares disagree with the golden Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy standard, that they're all of these horrible, toxic things, well, eventually they're going to react against that. You can only hear that kind of thing for so long. I hear a lot of people saying that they might have given episode 9 a chance, but now they're not even going to remotely try it because of all the names they're being called by the media. So I'm sure that people think they're being very witty when they make these little cartoons, or they try to sound very sophisticated and intellectual, talking about the history of Star Wars and fandom being toxic and so forth. It's simply not the case. They are making a false binary out of the situation, and they're only hurting their cause. They're only hurting their side. From a business standpoint, Lucasfilm is already making changes, whatever they end up being. I know there are rumors and everything, but you know that they're already making some sort of changes, however drastic, due to the failure of Solo at the box office. If episode 9 fails, it's going to be way more drastic, whatever they're doing, in terms of changes and trying to fix and right the ship. And this angry narrative that's out there in the media is only hastening that end. Of course, there are some mean-spirited trolls and bullies against the Disney Star Wars films, but that is not par for the course. Some of the biggest names, the YouTubers, for example, with the biggest platforms against Star Wars, are incredibly well-reasoned and extremely positive in what they have to say, even in their opposition. I'm thinking in particular of Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. This is somebody who cares about Star Wars, would never, ever advocate any ill treatment of anybody. By his own admission, he liked The Last Jedi when he first saw it. This is somebody who liked The Force Awakens and someone who was on board with the general direction that Disney Lucasfilm was taking the franchise. And I can't speak for him or put words in his mouth, but I can only imagine that once he decided Last Jedi was not a proper Star Wars film or in keeping with the spirit of the franchise, him constantly being called an angry white fanboy, sexist, racist, whatever, has only served to cement his view that this is not the direction he wants to see his franchise go in. So again, it comes back a lot to emotion. When you let the emotion and anger pour into your argument, and especially calling names and so forth, then that's when your reason's going to start flying out the window, and people notice that. People don't like to see somebody make an emotional spectacle of themselves. They're going to react negatively against that. So I'm not trying to predict the future and say that, mark my words, this is going to happen, but I am saying that if the narrative we see right now being pushed in the attacks and attempts to cast everyone in one light who disagrees with the Disney Lucasfilm, if that narrative continues, then yes, we will see Episode 9 fail at the box office to whatever degree. So let me know your thoughts on the matter, and also let me know any YouTubers that you know who reason out an argument well without accusing people, attacking people, and so forth, and call for civility and common sense in the argument. I will be back with another video soon. The next archetype video will be the detective. Everybody answered the poll that I placed on Twitter, and then a couple people responded to me in real life as well, so look for the detective to come soon, and until then, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.